Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Atlanta Influential. This is a series where we have conversations with Atlanta's Influential. Today, I'm joined by none other than Mariah Parker, better known to some as a hip hop artist, lingua franca, who is the Athens-Clarke County Commissioner. They are currently serving in their second term as the District 2 County Commissioner of Athens-Clarke County. Mariah successfully bridges the two worlds, often rapping about public policy and identity while also connecting their experiences to social inequality and the need for change. Their most recent album is titled Bell Ringer and doubles as a PhD dissertation in language and literacy at the University of Georgia. First, I would love to know, before becoming a rapper and a county commissioner, what were you doing? And what was the moment that you realized that you wanted to do both?
Yeah. My name is Mariah, aka Lingua Franca. I have been serving in public office since 2018, was reelected in 2020. But my career in hip hop long precedes that. Started organizing hip hop shows in 2016, performing and touring around the country throughout that time. And, through seeing some of the intersections of hip hop and public policy, the ways that our lived experiences that we rap about are very much shaped by the choices folks in power have made, and the need for us to actually have an authentic voice speaking to those experiences in City Hall. It's what caused me to run. So I've been doing both of those things and intertwining those separate avenues, letting those crisscross a little bit ever since. Yeah, and so when I first moved to Athens, I was working in the service industry. I worked at the Grill Diner downtown. I worked at Belgian Print Shop. So I was very much a part of the service industry culture of going out in the evenings and going to see a lot of shows, getting to meet a lot of bassists, vocalists, keyboardists, fiddle players, whatever. And that really inspired me to get involved in the music scene, but also bring a little more diversity and help integrate what had remained a pretty segregated music scene. A lot of folks of color didn't feel comfortable coming to downtown Athens because of rumors and history of racial discrimination in bars and stuff. And so it ultimately, organizing these hip hop shows ultimately did become a political project because it was a part of changing the culture of Athens, breaking down, racial and cultural divides. And so that is kind of what inspired me to do more things in, a more traditional sense of political organizing. So I put together postcard parties where we'd have happy hour, people come through, we would coach them on how to write postcards to their legislators and things like that in these same environments where we were also throwing these hip hop shows. And so it never really occurred to me in a moment I want to do both things. It's really more a case with hip hop as much as politics of if you don't see anybody else stepping up to do something, it has to be you. You can't wait around all day for somebody to come save you. And so right after I put out my first album, I decided to run for office just to give people an option in an election where there was one candidate running unopposed. That's not democracy. So I figured win or lose, get out there, spread some liberatory ideas and build some coalitions to make change in the same way that I had been doing and continue to do with hip hop. So the name of the game for me is just stepping up to give people a voice, give people a choice.
Yeah.
And win or lose, it's all about changing the conversation.
That's awesome. It sounds like from the start, you were really in the community and it was a process that, you kind of went through that journey with the people right in your community. So was there anyone specifically that helped you along that journey that you can think of?
Oh, absolutely. So at the time I decided to run for office, I was the campaign manager for my friend Tommy Valentine, who was also a rapper back in the day. He kind of got out the game, but and so he, mentored me a lot on both how to run a campaign, but deeper understanding of local political issues. I was, very encouraged by the support of our now mayor, Kelly Gertz at the time. He was very encouraging in helping me, embrace my unique skill set. As a person with a background that's not in politics. I don't come from a political family really in terms of, some folks who run, they got judges in their family. They got, my uncle was the governor. I don't really come from that kind of background. And so as well as my friends in hip hop music who were just oh, what, really? You're getting in there? And those are the same kind of folks that are out canvassing for me, coming through to the fundraisers, who had my back ultimately. So I'm very, very grateful as that as well.
That's awesome. Were there any people who didn't believe in your path to success? Anyone struggles that you faced?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of people that We're highly skeptical of a political newcomer, jumping in with, not a whole lot of background or experience within politics. There's a lot of this going out and, challenging various existing political hierarchies. There's the old boys club of, rings you got to kiss, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And as a rapper, I just kind of bust in there like, I'm going to prove myself to the electorate, not necessarily the leadership class in the city, going door to door and talking to folks about what issues concern them and what our vision was for making that better. So there was definitely some people, and to this day, people are kind of like a little side-eyed, like, I don't know about this, but it comes with the territory, so.
Yeah, I bet. And you had a background in politics already, or did you kind of just jump right into it?
I was 17 years old the first time Obama was running for president. And so I was too young to vote. I went out with my little clipboard, like knocked on doors for him. But other than that, I mean, I really didn't have a very, very strong background outside of the postcard, the People's Power Happy Hour, as we called it. Beyond that, I didn't really have any experience with policy making whatsoever. It's really just kind of like coming from the heart. I really think that anyone can serve and lead. It's just a matter of like committing yourself to study and committing yourself to keeping your heart open. So, I brought that in, if nothing else.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. I really want to know, is there a song that's on repeat for you right now? Anything that you're bumping as of late?
Okay, so the Serotonins just had a new album come out. I think they're based out of Louisiana, sort of like R&B, funk, soul. And AJ Haynes, the front woman, is also very involved in like reproductive justice down in like Shreveport in New Orleans. And so they got a new album out that's dope. And particularly the song on there, Get Free, that like I got on repeat right now.
Awesome. And you said they're kind of like R&B hip hop, or what?
If you like, I don't know, like Gladys Knight or Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, or folks like that.
Yes.
You will definitely love this.
Lovely. Okay. I'm wondering, who's your favorite rapper or artist? Do you typically listen to like old school or things that are more like, I would say, woke, or do you have
I am definitely into like the more like indie and alt like hip hop scene. Okay. Folks like, some of it is somewhat mainstream, like, Griselda records, like those cats out of Buffalo. But also some like real deep cuts, A$AP Rock, I would say, is actually my favorite rapper of all time. And what got me into rapping, because like he's got songs about how his mom wouldn't let him leave the dinner table till he ate his green beans, and how he bought his cat out of the back of a trunk in a supermarket parking lot. Like he really freed me to see that hip hop can be so many different things. Yeah. You can really rap, you can create these fantastical worlds in the music that you create. And so I definitely took a lot of inspiration from that when I started doing my own hip hop thing. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so I think I have a bit of an idea of how this works, but I'm sure a lot of people are curious how hip hop and politics intersect, not only in the work that you do, but in the world. How do these two come together?
I tell people all the time that I learned all of my skills as a politician from being a rapper. Like I used to be, not to flex too much, but I used to like wreck everybody in the rap battles around town back in like 2017, 2018. And a lot of those skills of like thinking flexibly and improvising on your feet off the top of the dome, and like standing up for yourself and what you believe in this environment where it's very hotly contested, but ultimately walking away from that experience, you dap somebody up who just like called your mama fat, but like at the end of the day, it's all good. Like it's kind of engaging in constructive, but like intense dialogue with folks. Like all of that is like, what I was doing as a battle rapper and what I continue to do to this day in City Hall when I get up to, fight this or advocate for that. Exact same skill set, 100%. So both the skills of hip hop coming into the political world, also the experiences of myself and other people in hip hop, bringing that knowledge into policy making. So when I hear folks rap about, making $7.25 an hour at Wendy's or going back to selling weed, it's like all of that, the minimum wage and whether or not cannabis is criminalized, like all of that is a matter of public policy that are shaping the lives of people in hip hop. And so bringing that experience into it. And then I also see hip hop as like a form of grassroots political education. So I sit down and I'm processing, wow, like, you know, these longshoresmen out on the West Coast are on strike and shut down all the ports, you know, from Vancouver to San Diego. Like I just sit down and kind of process that. And when I come away from that, thinking about labor organizing, sharing that back out to people, it's like, hey, if like you're not happy with the way things are going, here's an option for you. Here's what other people are doing in other places. And it's not like a news article, it's a podcast. It's like something that you might bump on the way to your work. You know, you'd be like, okay, all right, maybe I'll, you know, Google that when I get home. And so all these three different ways that these various like corridors of my life intersect in various places.
For people watching, I met Mariah for the first time at the Earth Day rally. I don't know if you remember me coming up to you.
I thought you looked familiar, and I was like, I don't remember where we met, but yeah.
That's where we met. And then I went to work the next week, and I was like, I met the Athens-Clarke County Commissioner at the Earth Day rally, rapping, performing, like doing such an awesome job up there. And I think that they'd be amazing to have in an interview just to discuss how these two worlds come together, because just hearing you up there talk about, you know, all the different issues that you were rapping about, like people are giving speeches about it all day, but to hear somebody passionately up there rapping about it, it just kind of, it hits you in a different way. So I really enjoyed seeing you, you know, showcasing your art. But yeah, it's really cool to think about how hip hop in itself is kind of a political tool too, you know?
It is.
So,
I mean, everything people were rapping about is shaped by public policy. You know, the friends that we've lost to gun violence, what are we doing to actually address gun violence? The people we've lost to incarceration for, you know, drug dealing and gang activity, like, you know, thinking about how the dominoes in their lives fell, all of which were government choices that brought them to that point. You know, all of that, everything we talk about ultimately points backwards to some sort of societal ill or societal, you know, some potential societal transformation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Cornel West once said of Bernie Sanders that some politicians are thermometers. They take the temperature of the room and then they decide what to do. But some politicians are thermostats who set the climate of the conversation. And so I try to be a little bit of both, obviously being responsive to the needs of the people, but also expanding our ideas of what we can achieve, what we deserve, you know, making sure that we are incorporating not just like reforms, but like actual transformation and actual like transformation and liberation is a part of our discussion. So not just like, oh, we need more affordable housing, but like, what if we guaranteed housing to every single person? I don't know how we get there, but let's imagine a world where that's true, right? So, you know, trying to expand the conversation as we fight for things that are responsive to the people's needs are kind of how I see my role as a county commissioner.
Amazing. What are the unique challenges that you would say you face as a Black person in a historically conservative state?
Absolutely. Because of gerrymandering, we do have like 3 or 4 Republican representatives for a highly Democratic area. And so, you know, that combined with the racial component of the way our communities have been disenfranchised for generations and up against this very deeply entrenched political apparatus that seeks to at every turn kind of like keep us in our place, I would say, specifically targeting Athens with legislation that goes against the will of the people, and actually being personally targeted with legislation as well. And so that's a struggle, but also it gets really ugly out here. When I've stood up and advocated for really bold, transformative and cutting edge policies, I have gotten, you know, death threats before. You know, I've had a lot of scary things happen, and so that is also very charged by, you know, white supremacy as well. So there's a lot of risk, there's a lot on the line, there's a lot of pushback coming at various levels. But I also try to remember like the sacrifices that my forebears in the struggle for liberation had to make. I mean, a lot of them lost their lives fighting for our freedom. And so the sort of attacks, the setbacks, the discouragement, but ultimately the perseverance, knowing that I'm trying to carry on a legacy that was established by folks I admire a great deal, and create a legacy that hopefully my kids will carry on, is really all you can hope for. So.
But yeah, so how has the Athens-Clarke County community specifically reacted to you being both a rapper and in politics?
I think that it's been for some people, like really empowering. Like when I rap about the prison industrial complex, when I rap about labor organizing, I talk about mental health struggles in my music. Like people identify with that. You know, I have people reach out like, yo, I love your song about unions. Like, how do I start a union at my workplace? Or like reaching out with horror stories about what's happening, even with small businesses that are cherished in the community who aren't treating their employees right. And so I've seen that through music, I've been able to engage a lot more people politically than if I, you know, kind of had a normal day job. There's definitely, again, been some backlash of folks like, oh, you're out here, you know, jumping around, moshing on the weekends. Forgetting that like we all also need joy. Like I think that politicians deserve every ounce of scrutiny and it's fine. But the like dehumanization of like, oh, you're a rapper, like forgetting that we all need outlets, whether that's going to a UGA football game or performing a show on the weekend, you know, it's all very similar. And as well, like rapping is my job. Like, you know, people say that being a commissioner is a part-time job. It's like, cool. My day job is like flying to DC to rap at a labor convention. And so like struggling with the push and pull of the various ways people want you to like fit into the mold of what a politician is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I love to see, like, I think you're a great example of what a lot of millennials, a lot of people today kind of strive to be, because it's like, a lot of us don't want to fit into a corporate mode. A lot of us don't want to fit into a box or like a worker box. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you've read the book, Politics of Pleasure by Adrienne Marie Brown. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite books because it's like you have to have both. Joy has to lead the movement. You know what I'm saying? We have a real life outside of the work we do, and I think that's why a lot of millennials, a lot of people around our age, are kind of pushing to get outside of an office or pushing to no longer be an employee, to be their own boss, because they want to center joy. They want to center, you know, what gives them pleasure at the center of their work. So it's amazing to see you doing both, because it's like, okay, I can do both. And it inspires people, I think, to run for office, to vote, to be politically engaged, because you can still be who you are. You don't have to put that in a box. So
I try to tell people as often as I can that, like, you know, you deserve people that we deserve weirdos in office, because we already got a bunch of weirdos, but like in a bad way. So like we got folks out here just wilding out. God knows what they're up to. We might as well have people in office that are like, you know, eat ramen regularly and like to sing and dance, a little late on their car payment, or you know, they like to work on the weekends. That is a human experience that deserves to be reflected in the kind of policies that are being made, because they're making decisions without you, about you. That ain't it. So I don't, you know, if you like cosplay or you play the trombone or whatever it is, like we need your voice in there. And so I try to model that, like, yo, I'm unapologetically me. And so you can be as well and get in here and fight for what you believe in.
We'll talk about an impressive resume. She's a rapper, a doctoral student, and tonight she's an Athens-Clarke County Commissioner.
Mariah Parker boasts an impressive resume, and now she's going viral for how she chose to be sworn into office.
Okay, so in a now viral picture of you taking oath as the Athens-Clarke County Commissioner, you lay one hand on the famous book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. Is there anything that you can teach us about the importance of that book and how it helped you to get to the point that you're in your life?
Right, yeah. I mean, people remember Malcolm X as this like radical militant. And I do think there's something important to draw from that when we think about what we need of our leadership, folks that are going to be fearless, folks that are going to speak truth to power, folks that aren't scared to go into those halls of power and challenge people. Even if it puts their lives at risk, like the very serious risks that come with agitating hard for, you know, liberation and transformation. I think that's a lot to be learned from that, for sure. But also what people forget about him is the way he changed over the course of his life. He took a trip to Mecca and met Muslims of every nationality and race and came to see that we need a multiracial coalition in order to defeat white supremacy. And so the fact that over the course of his life, he was willing to reflect, you know, he went hard for the people and like, you know, was very, very about, you know, what he was about, but also thinking about how we need to be willing to transform ourselves and think and, you know, reflect on our experiences and adapt. And so I think that, that's a very powerful thing to be learned from the book as well.
Awesome. And I saw that your mother was there with you that day. Is your mom like one of your biggest supporters? And
Oh yeah. She, has been my cheerleader throughout. Back when I was talking about canvassing for Obama in 2008, she was right out there with me. Actually, I was out there with her. I am very grateful to have had her support along this journey.
I love how much you care about community, and that shows through your work and your music. So yeah. What was it like to create the song Abolition with Angela Davis and to get to be in conversation with an icon like Angela?
Absolutely. So we were co-keynote speakers at a conference in 2020. That's how we were both first able to meet. And then with the pandemic and everything, a lot of the features on the album were done remotely, sending a song to my homie Jeff Rosenstock up in LA and saying, yo, what would you like to add to this? Various other collaborators. And the same with Dr. Davis, getting to include a bit of our conversation on the track, because I'm talking about the work that she's been doing for 50 years as an anti-prison activist. And so that was definitely a dream come true. And to have her really appreciate the final result was unspeakably amazing. So
I bet. I wonder what the studio was like that day. I bet it was magical. I love Angela Davis and all the work they've done. So I bet that was a dream. Yeah. And I didn't even know Angela Davis was a singer, but the more you know. Specifically, what are you fighting to change within the Athens-Clarke County community? Is there any one thing that's a big thing you point to? Or
Yeah, so speaking of abolition, I use the framework of prison abolition to understand a lot of our problems. So thinking about the fact that public safety starts in the community, that if you don't have a safe place to live, you're not safe. If you don't have fresh food to eat and you're considering, jacking some, a sandwich from a convenience store, you're not safe. If you don't have a loving and supportive community of mentors and clubs to be involved with, as a young person, it's highly likely that you'll be seduced into a life of organized crime. If you don't have a good paying job, another reason why people might be out here involved in gangs, involved in criminal activity to sustain themselves. So all of these things that we as the county commission can do to make our community safer, that also makes it healthier, that makes our social fabric stronger, as opposed to waiting around for folks to slip up, to err, to get oh, this guy finally hit a breaking point and jacked a car. Let's not even get to that point. Let's invest in the people so that we don't have to end up investing more and more in and locking them up and throwing them away. So that's a key sort of framework for understanding, what our problems are, how we got here, how we get out of here, that I've brought to the table in a lot of our discussions. And then the other main thing is affordable housing. We don't have a community if people can't afford to live here. And so I've been very involved in pushing forward strategic initiatives to fight homelessness, to keep people housed, and also expand the diversity of housing options here so that our community remains vibrant. And worker empowerment, I think that everything should be democratic, not just our government, but all the way down to our workplaces, our schools, the way that we run the apartments that we live in. And so trying to encourage through the way we fund things, through the way that our economic development department works, and through my own personal advocacy, workers to come together and decide, what sorts of conditions are amenable to them at the places where they work, what they deserve to get paid, and collectively, leveraging their labor power to ensure that they get that from the folks that employ them. So that's something that I've been fighting for really ardently in the last year or so. I think that the expertise and wisdom of formerly incarcerated folks about what circumstances in their lives brought them to the point that they were ultimately, incarcerated, and leveraging that knowledge to think about strategic investments and policies that we can make to keep people from going down that path is a really fundamental aspect, I think, of our approach to public safety in this city. And so I'm hoping we can continue to advance that conversation and bring those voices into the conversation to ensure that we're actually creating policies that reflect the needs and wants of the community.
Yeah. And for viewers, people who are watching this, what can we do beyond just our vote? How can the community support politics that you have been working to change, and also your music.
Yeah, so I mean, I would recommend folks, first and foremost, just stay informed, just keep up to date with what's happening with your city council, what's happening in the state legislature, as a starting point, and getting plugged into advocacy organizations that are working in whatever field is important to you. I won't say you got to come, get behind me in affordable housing. Y'all take the lead, and your leaders in your community, your politicians, your city council person, whoever, are the ones that ought to follow. So if you're really concerned about reproductive justice, thinking about how you can get plugged in with ARC Southeast or other, various advocacy organizations in your community, to join that fight with them. Because I guarantee whatever it is you care about, there's somebody out there already fighting that could use your support. And so doing that wherever you are, that's how we build a strong democracy. And so in addition to that, if you want to find out more about music, you can go to linguafranca.bandcamp.com and get the new album. I've got a bunch of tour dates coming up, so you can peep those there as well and see if you have an opportunity to come through, see the kid. And yeah, I'm on Spotify and everywhere like that. So check out the tune and see if you like them.
Yes, everyone should definitely go support. I love the music. Definitely like the song that I heard you performing on Earth Day. You did a backflip almost on stage. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think it might have been Gold Bike, which I literally do have a golden bicycle that everyone's talking about. Everyone's trying to flex, oh, I got these cars, I got this, I'm on a private jet. I'm like, well, I'm on a gold bicycle. What's up?
Climate change, you're saving the planet. Wow.
Oh yeah, we gotta get Exxon and BP to get their act together. But in the meantime, I don't mind, whipping around town on a bike if that's gonna help.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys have to go see Mariah perform in person, because that's an experience.
It's different, yeah.
But yeah, if we have a bit of time left, I was wondering if you want to play a game with me.
Let's go. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So this game is called Guess That Revolutionary Rap Lyric.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you'll guess the artist. I'll give you the lyric, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's go for it.
So number one, the lyric is, "Now I can't pledge allegiance to your flag, because I can't find no reconciliation with your past. When there was nothing equal for my people in your math, you forced us in the ghetto, and then you took our dads." Who's the artist?
Wow. I don't know why my first impression was J. Cole, but I don't think that's right.
So you have 5 seconds left.
Oh no. Okay, 5 seconds left. Meek Mill.
Ding, ding, ding. Time is up.
Oh.
No. The answer is Lupe Fiasco.
Lupe Fiasco, of course.
The song is called Strange Fruition.
Way before these other cats, yeah.
Yeah, that was a hard one.
Okay.
Okay, round two. Are you ready? "I get down from my grandfather who took my mama, made her sit in that seat where white folks ain't want us to eat. At the tender age of 6, she was arrested for the sit-ins. And with that in my blood, I was born to be different."
Man.
You got it.
Are they from Atlanta?
I can give you a hint. They're from... Oh, I feel like this will give it away, though.
Oh, I'm not gonna get it anyway.
There's a new documentary about them.
It's not Kanye, is it? No,
it's Kanye.
Way. Really?
Yeah. It's Never Let Me Down.
What album?
That's the song called Never Let Me Down. Which album is that?
Okay, that's new Kanye, so that explains it.
Oh. Okay.
It has to be, because I definitely know his back catalog very well. So.
Okay, so you got one left. All
right.
left.
If I don't get this, we're gonna have to scrap the whole thing because I'm embarrassed. So let's go.
Okay, the last one. Are you ready? "From Compton to Congress, set tripping all around. Ain't nothing new but a flu of new Democrips and Republicans. Red state versus a blue state. Which one you governing?"
Wow, I want to say it's Ice Cube.
I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. You got another guess.
Okay, so let's see. He's mentioned Compton, but
ding, ding, ding. Time is up. Okay, the answer is Kendrick Lamar.
That was gonna be. I was like, that's a little too on the nose. Like, he didn't talk to me. Come on, like, of course.
His stuff is usually pretty right there on the nose. But that's the song "Hood Politics."
Okay, yeah. That's so funny because that was definitely my first choice. I was like, oh no, that's not enough of a not a trick question, but you know, like. Anyway, yeah.
Have you heard his new album?
I heard parts of it. I haven't listened to I'm really bad. I don't know why I'm like this, but like there are artists I love dearly deep down in my heart that like I'm just like slow on the uptake with. Like I love Mick Jenkins. And then randomly for some reason,
Me too.
I like a month ago just went back and started listening to like his album from 2018. I was like, why? What have I been doing? Sleeping on this. I love him.
I'm the same way. I'm so late.
So I do that. I'm like a little slow on uptake, so I'm gonna get to it for sure. But yeah, because he's one of the greatest. So.
I don't want to quiz you about what you've heard, but have you heard Isaiah Rashad? He has a new album out.
But he has a new album too. That's exactly.
He took a long break though. He took a break, and now he's back. He just put an album out like I think a month ago. So a lot of people are calling it like the summer album of the summer. But yeah.
All right, let's go. Yeah, we need some summer bangers since we're finally, you know, starting to kind of get our lives back. So,
but I will be blasting Bell Ringer all summer.
Thank you. Yes.
All throughout the streets of Atlanta.
Word. Appreciate
it. Yeah, this has been so fun. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great time.
All right. I hope to talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.